This is a state of a lake in Chandigarh 2 years ago when massive fish death happened. And that is not an isolated phenomenon. When the cyanobacteria is overproduced, then the normal species of the lake is disturbed, and that can result in casualties of the natural inhabitants there. So a community should be equal opportunities for everybody living there. If some elements, especially bad elements, this problem may not have happened within the community, not within the lake. So somewhere else a factory might have produced a lot of pollution, and that nitrate might have been washed by the pre-summer rain. And quite unexpectedly it came to this pond, and that fed this bacteria, and this bacteria increased in number disproportionately and killed the other species because it stopped the oxygen from getting into the water. So this example applies to the communities that live on us and within us. So there are bacteria on the skin, there are bacteria in the mouth, and there are bacteria even in the lungs which we think are clean, and there are bacteria in the vaginal cavity, and more importantly in the gut. The common thing is anybody who comes into contact with the outside world will have bacteria because outside world is full of bacteria. So they were here many billion years ago, and then we became humans only few million years ago. So if you think of our Earth's existence as an extended arm from this stem to this end, human existence is only at the nail fork. So we are here only for few million years. And within these few million years, only in the last 10,000 years, we have become agrarians. We have become agriculturists. We started cultivating and restricting and modernizing our food. But before that, we were animals like orangutans, like chimpanzees, and we were eating straight from the forest. So before that, we were all animals of the ocean. Only when the ocean became too competitive, we were actually orphans. No, we came out of the ocean like a frog, then became bird, and then we became a dinosaur and a monkey, and then now we call ourselves a human. But the biomass of human is only 0.1%. The biomass of plants is several thousands, and the biomass of bacteria is several millions. Now, if you collect all the bacteria on the earth, that will be 1,000 times more than the trees and plants of the world. And humans will be very little of the plants. But we were able to reduce 50% of the plants from the earth. So even though we are only 0.1%, we are very small in number, but very big in destruction. Did we destroy only outside world or our own inside world? We will see. So among all the places where bacteria live on us, gut is the most rich thing because it resembles ocean with water and salt and all the continuity of the universe. So bacteria live in the universe, they come to us, they will inhabit and live with us. When we die, they will live and continue to live with us. So we are only, say, 1 trillion cell, but our bacteria is, 100 trillion cells. So we are actually a hybrid. We are a mixed organism. We are bacteria mainly, and 1/10 is human. So you should think yourself that you are living temporarily for 100 years around the bacteria, and then when you decompose, the universe continues. It carries on. We are only renting the place around the bacteria for 100 years or 90 years, whatever it is. But compared to the genes, we have only 20,000 genes. But bacteria has 1,000 times more genes. So that means you build a house, but to run a house, you need a lot of extra equipment more than your hands. We are Homo sapiens, Homo habilis, we can do. But without a mixie, without hammer, without nut and bolt, we cannot run a house. To run our life, we need this genetic equipment of the bacteria. So bacteria are not there as a renter in your home. You need them as necessary equipment in your body. Without bacteria, we will die. So we need bacteria to survive because they carry more genetic mechanisms that we don't have. So that means we are symbiotic. We give them home and we should also give them food. Whenever you take somebody as your guest, it is our duty to feed them. So we should look after them. In turn, they help us in many ways. That is the relationship we have been having with the bacteria since animal life evolved. So I said the bacteria in the mouth is different from the bacteria in the gut, but it differs from individuals. So my bacteria in the gut will be slightly different from bacteria of Selambarsan. That is called beta diversity. But for example, so I may be having rice and dal and potato in my kitchen. So the Selambarsan may be having egg and chicken and rice and broccoli in his kitchen. But at the end of the day, the product is called metabolome. So the utensils are bacterium, microbiome, but what they produce is called metabolome. So what they produce, do they produce enough butyric acid? Do they produce enough beta-glucan? Do they produce enough folic acid? So all these important nourishment that we cannot make ourselves, if the end product is same, then Selambarsan and me, we both are living a equally comparable healthy life. So the bacteria may be slightly different, but the functional capacity of my microbiome and his microbiome are comparable. That's why we are all leading overall a healthy life. And if you remember your biology class, so life and then animal kingdom, so phylum is the major thing, and mostly 6 to 9 phyla only exist, whereas the earth has got 14 phyla and the ocean has got 19 phyla. So we are piece of earth, we are piece of ocean, but we are not as big or as wide as them, but we are a narrow slice. If ocean is a pizza, we are only 2/3 of that pizza. We are part of the universe. We should not forget it. Of the 9, firmicutes and bacteroids are the most dominant one, which I highlighted in the red. But not only bacteria, we also have fungi, we also have viruses, and then the virus-like particles which can transmit genes and other things from one bacteria to another called phages. We also have archaea. Archaea is a twin of bacteria. They have been here for millions and millions of years, if not billions. They can live in acid, they can live in Arctic freezing conditions, they can live in 1,000 degrees in the volcano. So don't forget, archaea is elder brother of bacteria. We have some, and this is called methanogen. So this archaea only produces methane. So for example, if a cow has got a lot of this bacteria and the cow exits gas from its back end, you can imagine how much atmospheric pollution will happen with a very bulky cow. So not only bacteria, virus and fungus, we also have small animals like, this is a mite. This can live in the skin of the eyelid. So we think we are clean, but imagine how many people are living in us. So that brings us to 100 trillion living organisms we are hosting at any given day. And because of the Human Microbiome project and molecular techniques, we are now able to analyze and study this bacteria in quick time with less cost. I think science is always driven by how quickly you can get the result and how easy it is to perform, how reproducible. Culture and all, we don't even know the names of these trillions of bacteria, leave alone culture. But to look at the RNA, DNA signals and their metabolomes and their genomics, we can get the complete picture. And that is why In the last 20 years, my interest in human microbiome dates back to 2012. But in the last 12 years, see the number of publications that has increased. So, when does a collection of people become an organization? So, force, you call yourself as an organization because organ means individuals come, they act in concert, and they produce collective phenomena. So, all of us have goals. So, for example, if an organization is building a house, that means everybody knows what they are doing. Ant is an organization, isn't it? Ant colony is an organization. Bees are an organization. If that is the case, so not only humans are organized living, but bacteria also are organized, because this is the abdominal X-ray and this is the electron microscopy of the thing. Look at how layered and how disciplined they are organizing themselves. So some of them are close to the mucus, some of them are close to the lumen, and this layering is preserved, and they all communicate with each other. They all help the human being to live. They all stop the bad bacteria from becoming bigger in number. They know how to reduce the cholesterol absorption. They know how to reduce the carbohydrate absorption. So if you are blessed with good bacteria, you can eat a big plate of biryani and still not put on weight. But if you have oppositely bad bacteria, even if you eat one idli, you will put on weight, because the waste, all the waste in the colon can be converted into carbohydrate and cholesterol, and it will be absorbed. So the patient will be sitting in front of me and saying, "Sir, I take only one idli in the morning and only half cup of rice in the afternoon, but I cannot reduce weight." Some people cannot reduce weight because their bacteria is doing the opposite thing that they want to do. They are harvesting energy from the waste and giving to the host unnecessary. So obesity can be easily thought of a disease induced by dysbiosis. Biosis is the state of biological microorganism living in us, and when it gets disturbed. So that is only the beginning. Even if they produce something like a toxin, a tranylomine or something like that, they go and damage the coronary artery. They think if you control the bacteria from producing these bad ones, people can be saved from even heart attacks. Where is heart? Where is gut? Also think about the brain. So Alzheimer's, dementia, depression, every neurological condition, they think that it is all originating from the gut, and that means microbiome disturbance. So in that sense, microbiome is an organ. When an organ is getting diseased, modern medicine talks about transplantation. Okay? So when the gut microbiome gets diseased, doctors talk about fecal transplantation. Have you heard about fecal transplantation? Fecal microbiota transplant. So subconsciously, we have agreed that the microbiome is an organ, because only organs can be transplanted. So how do we get this? We are sterile when we are in the mother's womb. So that is the only time. Quran says, the moment you are born, you are sin. You become dirty and you die with the dirtiness. That's what Quran says. If you translate that, the moment you take the first breath, when you cry, you swallow the bacteria, and that is the time your gastrointestinal tract gets inoculated with your first dose of bacteria, and that stays with you for rest of your life. So how healthy your mother was. Oh, she's a young mother, and what kind of family she is coming with. Because once you are born, your grandmother only feeds you. Your uncle and aunt only kiss you. No. So that means the parampara, they also contribute what kind of bacteria are coming as a second and third dose into your thing. Imagine you are born by cesarean. You are blessed only with the skin bacteria, and if the skin is painted with a lot of iodine, imagine the nurse's glove, the pediatrician glove, and the hospital equipment only will be giving the first bacteria. Yeah? And then whether you are given the mother's milk, was the natural food or formula food, what happened to your childhood pediatrician visit, did they give unnecessary antibiotic? So all those things shape your thing. And then it is called the plasticity of the genome. So I am born with the 20,000 genes. They come from my parents and I cannot do much about it. But this 20,000 into 1,000 times genes, I can change it for my baby. We can change it for our children. We can change it for ourselves. But more importantly, in a bigger sense, we can change it for our patients, crores of patients, for the betterment of their health. So, human microbiome is changeable, plastic. Even though we all start like that, by 1 or 2 years, we all become somewhat similar with a little variation from somebody is born of cesarean. By 1 or 2 years, they will also have similar bacteria like their brother or sister born by the normal birth. So, when we are born, we have less microbiome, and it takes 2 or 3 years for our microbiome to mature. Until then, we are giving only mother's milk and very, very, very finely processed, easily digestible food. Imagine if you are a baby elephant. So where is the mother having a cow and gate, or where is the formula food for the mother elephant? She is busy eating herself. The baby is following. My mother is eating big tree barks and branches and leaves. I cannot eat. So by gut feeling, by gut instinct, she knows that my mother has got rich bacteria in her gut and she can digest all the undigestible things, because as I told you, what we cannot do, bacteria can do. What the elephant gene cannot do, the bacteria in the elephant's intestine can do. That's why it is able to digest. So the baby eats the mother's bowel motion, not the poo. And then it quickly fecal transplants and gets the bacteria. So that within few days, it can also survive in the forest, exactly eating what the mother eats. So go to YouTube and then type baby elephant eating mother's poo. You will get a live video. So this is what happens. Once you are born, you depending upon the milk and solid diet and adulthood vaccination, your bacteria changes during a period. Once you become elderly, then your bacterial diversity comes down. So if you go and hug an elderly person, you will get different aroma, you will get a different smell compared to when you hug or get close to a young person. So you should all recall your grandparents always smelled different and nice. No? So we all, that's why we should be very, very kind to elderly people when you give antibiotics, because their diversity is smaller. They are more prone for antibiotic-induced side effects. So all of you can recall, if you give Comoxiclav to an elderly person, they may have more diarrhea and more liver injury. So gut can injure the liver, gut-liver axis. Gut can injure the lung, COVID. When the gut COVID went through to the lung, that gave more harmful. So gut-lung axis, gut-brain axis. We all know about the gut-skin axis. If you eat a peanut and if the gut reacts allergy, urticaria comes only in the skin. So gut can talk to skin, gut can talk to heart, gut can talk to the joints, bones, overall well-being. So, and the gut talks only through the bacteria it has. So, in school, we all were given lessons about virus and bacteria, which are all causing disease. But what we must know is 99.999% of viruses and bacteria are good ones. Now, bread puffing up, idli batter, getting sore and ready, beer, everything is from, and our yogurt, curd, everything is from good bacteria only. You can imagine one relative dissolves the idli batter, nothing happens next day. The other person dissolves the idli batter overnight, and then it becomes very, 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 fermented. It's number of the bacteria in the hand. Who feeds you? Somebody, if mother feeds you, you feel tasty. Why? It's all what bacteria is in there. That's why when you change from your mother's or your wife's cooking to somebody else's, your gut reacts. So most of the time, they protect us. They are, even if you ingest E. coli or something, the enemies are controlled by. A society is good when good people are more and outnumber the bad elements. But when that doesn't happen, then that becomes a disturbed society. So we as human beings successfully destroyed 50% of the plant and trees from the earth. Yeah, you can see. And that's what we are doing to ourselves. So this is reflected in non-communicable diseases. In the last 2-3 decades, you can see phenomenal rise in hypertension, heart disease, dementia, obesity, metabolic dysfunction associated fatty liver disease. And in modern medicine, what we do is we allow the disease to become bad, then start treatment. So diabetes is established, then you start treatment. But when it should be treated is, it should be prevented. So we can treat infection after it comes in. But this kind of diseases should be treated even before they come. So that means if chronic diseases need to be treated before they come, we need to look at the root cause or the common factor behind the thing. Is it related to the diet? Is it related to a lot of chemicals? Antibiotics are not only used by doctors, but they are also used by agriculturists as well as animal industry. No, people who keep a poultry farm and a fish farm, no, they use a lot of antibiotics to fatten the animals. And then you can see the sanitizer everywhere. They are very clean. You wipe the kitchen with everything. You wipe the dining table. We are keeping away from all the good bacteria, and right and left we are driving them away from our lives. No, you clean everything. So in the olden age, a baby will play in a mud ground, touch something and then put the finger in the mouth, and that way they will be more close to nature. But now we are more close to malls and suburban theaters, and that bacteria is no good. Now, if something slips in the theater floor, and if the child picks up, and then that is bad. But if the same thing has happened to the child in a mango tree and Mother Nature's soil, that won't spoil the baby. So all the chronic conditions are driven by inflammation only. Cirrhosis, cardiac disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, everywhere. Chronic inflammation is the main mantra. And bacteria in our gut is an immunomodulator. If they are good, there is no inflammation. If they are disturbed, they promote inflammation. So when the inflammation is big, we have diarrhea, we have allergy. But if the inflammation is subtle and goes on for years and years, we will suffer this kind of ill health, IBD, cancer, depression, heart disease, not knowing because it is too subtle and too long. So I always think, if you are going to fight something, if the gut is fighting something, it should be acute and we should win or die. If you don't win or die, and then if you allow the enemy to linger and damage you for 20 years, 30 years, that is bad news. So if a deer is facing a cheetah or lion, the fight happens for 5 minutes, the chase. The moment the cheetah or the lion eats the deer, the game is over. But if a deer escapes, which happens 99% of the time, you can see the deer going and grazing the grass peacefully within 2 minutes. It will forget that it was chased by a lion and its life was in danger just 2 minutes ago. It will go and drink water peacefully because it knows. But same deer, if you put in a Mandalore zoo and then you stress it for 20 years, you will give heart attack to them. So stress and inflammation is good if it is sudden and appropriate. You win or die. Stress and inflammation is bad if it is chronic, prolonged, irritating, and never ending. So when the inflammation is there, then the gut becomes leaky and it allows unwanted elements into the system, the so-called leaky gut. You might have heard this term from old parents, grandparents, but this went out of fashion and now coming back. So as I said, we inherited our asset our property. This is a property that we own for as many years as we live. We got it from birth and it grew like a mutual fund. No? We created a community fund and we are maintaining our asset in our gut. But we change the food. So from 500 plants that we are eating 10,000 years ago, we now eat only 50 plants. And then a potato is put to 300 degrees. All the vitamins, water, everything will be extracted from it. Then they will be cut, and then air will be sucked out of the pocket. Nitrogen will be pushed into the pocket, and then the crispy potato crisp is enjoyed by us. It is not food. It's food-like substance. It's a product. Food should come from nature. There should be minimal processing and sensible cooking. Something need to be baked, something need to be sorted, something need to be eaten fresh, something need to be boiled, something need to be fried, but not processed. The ultra-processed food take all the good things, change the texture, add bad things, and then they come into our food shelf or into the hotels and restaurants. So this kind of food will not feed our bacteria, because our genes are still the same, but the interaction with the bacteria has completely changed. See, we are not fitting with the appropriate diet to open our good genes. So this is what our great-grandparents were eating, fiber every day. This is what healthy people eat even now. This is what most of us eat now. So when your mother is pregnant, we say eat for two. But actually all of us should eat for two. One for us and one for the 100 trillion gusts we have. So imagine, if you eat everything and then absorb here, there is nothing for the bacteria. So if you eat a donut, if you eat a biscuit, this is what will happen. You will digest everything. Nothing will go to the bacteria. But if you eat something undigestible, that goes to the bacteria. So next time when you look at your plate, you imagine, is this only for me or is this for two people? And this bacteria will thrive on certain things like, oligofructose, some starches that are delicious for them. Now, if you eat biryani, if you like it, then eat something that what your bacteria likes. And then you can supplement by fermented bacteria, fermented rice water, yogurt, all those the grandmother said is good for gut. And also the bacteria produce butyrate, propionate, folic acid, beta-glucan. They are called postbiotics. These are also good for us. So your company is luckily making one product called Pre-Pro, which has got a good bacteria. It has got a prebiotic food for the bacteria. Suppose if you seed a plant, you also give the manure with the plant, like that. So you give a food for that bacteria called oligofructose, and also something that the bacteria, good bacteria will produce called postbiotic. And the other thing that the gut secretes is melatonin. Melatonin is not only from the brain, but it is also from the gut, because gut should be seen as a second brain. Serotonin, melatonin, whatever your brain deals with, gut deals with, because they are all same. The nervous system within the gut is as big as spinal cord. So if nature wanted to put all the nerve cells to control the gut within the skull, we may not be able to come out of our mother's womb. So that's why nature took 1/4 of the brain and put it in the gut. So this is called state government. We have autonomy, we can manage. But gut is also brain. It can also think, it remember, and it needs fuel. And this fuel is produced only by bacteria, and the bacteria can survive only if you feed them and look after them. Sleep, less stress, good exercise. All these things will help you, and they will help you to fight diabetes, fight obesity, fight cancer, fight heart disease. So if you eat, next time when you give processed food for your children, make sure you give a natural food the next time. Don't give continuous processed food because you cannot keep your guest hungry for too long. Okay, your family went out, you kept your guest fasting, but come home and then feed the guest. And this is what people of Tanzania eat even now. Look at the logs used for burning, cooking that tuber is as big as that. So look at that. Look at the tuber we eat now. Look at it. No, it is completely fiberless and ultra processed. So what happens is, if you don't feed the guest, they will go and take a cashew nut or something, sugar from your kitchen and eat. No, you have guests at home, but you are not feeding them. What will they do? They will eat something from your own home. So your own home has a mucus. Mucus is full of energy. Bacteria will start eating the mucus, and then the barrier becomes thin and we become the leaky gut. So over the time, we not only reduce the plant, but we also reduced our bacterial population. You can look at the left side, the traditional population, how rich and dense, and you look at the impoverished bacterial population of the industrialized nations. And if you eat, even now, even at the age of 50 or 60, if you eat high fiber food for 2-3 years, look at the number of species. When this person was eating modern food, and when he introduced a lot of fresh food, over next 5 years, his bacterial population increased from 600 to almost 1,200. So there is still some hope to replenish our intestinal garden. Our intestinal garden is now looking like a desert, but we can make it again look like a forest. So because of this, lot of research is going on, and in future, we will see lot of interventions talking to human microbiome, and the medicines will be not only for gut-related problems, but it will be a lot of physical problems. If you ask me, then these medicines are already doing good or bad to the gut. If you give metformin and they develop diarrhea, that is due to that person developing bad bacteria and destruction of good bacteria due to metformin. If somebody takes say antidepressants and they are feeling better, it is not only because it talks to the brain, but it may be producing good bacteria in the gut. So lot of medicine. So I ask patients to come for a colonoscope, and then they start feeling better because I give a bowel wash that gives a chance for them to know if they eat better for next 2-3 days, the good bacteria might become bigger and they feel better. So Hollywood people and all go for colonic lavage every 1 month, every 2 months, So this is due to repeated evacuating bad elements and then try to, but what you should do is, like the slide show, for next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if you eat more food for the bacteria along with what you enjoy what you do, but also don't forget the guts inside. So one treatment now, the human microbiome can completely cure is Clostridium difficile diarrhea. You can see first slide, the patient, second slide, the donor of the stool, and the third slide, the received patient now has incorporated. It's almost like half liver, half liver and half liver. You can see the hybrid microbiome, fecal transplant. And then this is my last slide. In future, if I have diarrhea, if I have fever, if I have a chronic illness, my microbiome will be tight. They will find out what I need and what need to be removed. And they will give a combination of probiotics, postbiotic and prebiotics, like pre-pro and pre-pro IBS, more personalized, more individualized, more precise. And then I may not take any antibiotic. I may not even need IBD or antidepressant medicines. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.